The moment my closet door opened, I thought I was about to die, because the people inside my house that night weren't my parents, and I was only 10 years old. This happened years ago when my family lived in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. There were 5 of us in the house at the time: my parents, my older brother Jake, my little sister Emma, and me. I was the middle child. Jake was 14, Emma was 5, and I was 10 years old. That night started like any normal Friday. I was upstairs in my room playing a Star Wars game on my PlayStation while my parents were downstairs. Then suddenly, I heard my mom crying. Not quiet crying either, full panic. The kind that immediately makes your stomach drop. I ran out of my room and saw her on the phone with a hospital. All I remember hearing was, "Your son was hit by a car." Everything moved quickly after that. My parents rushed around grabbing coats and trying to stay calm. My dad kept telling my mom that Jake was going to be okay. They woke my little sister and got ready to leave. Before going out the door, my dad asked if I could stay home alone. I said yes. A few minutes later, the house was completely empty, just me. I went back to my room and kept playing my game, mostly trying to distract myself. Eventually, a couple hours passed. The house was silent. Then I heard the front door open. My first thought was that my parents had come back. It had to be past midnight, so I quickly shut off the TV and climbed into bed with my Game Boy so it would look like I had been sleeping. I waited to hear my parents talking downstairs, but I didn't hear anything. No voices, no footsteps, just silence. That's when something started to feel wrong. So I got out of bed and cracked my bedroom door open. My room overlooked the living room below, so I walked to the banister and looked down. The lights were off, but there were people standing in the living room, 3 of them, and they weren't my parents. For a second, my brain just froze. Then panic kicked in. I slowly backed into my room and tried to shut the door quietly, but the latch clicked. In the silence, it sounded loud. I knew they probably heard it. That's when everything got worse. I rushed to my closet and climbed inside, hiding behind boxes and bags of old clothes stacked in the corner. I was tucked deep enough that I couldn't easily be seen. Then I waited. Seconds passed. Then I heard my bedroom door open. The sound made my chest tighten so badly I thought I might pass out. Footsteps entered the room. Slow, careful. Someone walked to my bed. I heard my blankets shifting like they were checking if someone was under them. Then the footsteps moved again, this time toward the closet. My breathing completely stopped. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then the closet door slowly opened. A thin line of hallway light spilled into the closet, and with it came something else. The faint smell of cigarette smoke and the quiet sound of someone breathing. I didn't move, I didn't look up, I didn't even blink. The door stayed open. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Then finally, the closet door slowly closed, and the footsteps walked away, out of my room. I stayed hidden there, shaking in the dark. About an hour later, I heard the front door open again. This time it really was my parents. I ran downstairs as soon as I heard them. The burglars had left the front door slightly open when they left. They had taken electronics and a few valuables from the house. My parents realized later that in the rush to leave for the hospital, they had forgotten to lock the door. But the part that still stays with me happened upstairs. Because when that closet door opened, the person standing there had a clear view of the corner where I was hiding, which means there's a chance he actually saw me. And sometimes I wonder something that still makes my stomach turn. Maybe he didn't walk away because he didn't see me. Maybe he walked away because he did. The moment the voice in the woods said, "I see you," I realized the person out there wasn't asking for help. They were trying to lure me into the trees. And if I had taken a few more steps that night, I honestly don't know if I'd be here telling this story. This happened back in 2013 when I was a teenager living with my parents in Newark, Ohio. For once, I had the entire house to myself. A wealthy friend of my mom's had invited my parents on a week-long trip and paid for everything. Since I was an only child, I stayed home alone. Our house sat on a quiet road with woods stretching behind the backyard. Behind the house was a wooden deck that overlooked the yard, an above-ground pool, and a small fish pond. About 30 yards past the grass line, the woods began, and from those woods, someone could see the entire house. It was a Thursday night in July. Earlier that day, I had been talking with friends about weekend plans. That night, I was sitting on the deck listening to music through a small speaker and just relaxing. Then something strange happened. Through the music, I thought I heard someone talking from the woods. At first, I ignored it. I lowered the music and listened. Nothing, so I turned the music back up. But a few seconds later, I heard it again, a man's voice. "Hey, over here." The voice sounded distant but not far away. The woods were maybe 20 or 30 yards away from the deck. I shut the music off completely. Then the voice called again. "Hey, over here." Now I knew I wasn't imagining it. Someone was definitely in the woods. At first I figured it might be some kids messing around out there. But then the voice said something else. "We need help." That got my attention. The voice was deep, definitely not a kid. I leaned forward in my chair, trying to see into the darkness between the trees. Then he yelled again. "Straight in front of you, please come help." That's when I realized he was talking to me, so I reluctantly called back. "Who is that?" the voice answered immediately. "We're stuck out here." Something about the way he said it made my stomach feel uneasy. I asked, "Stuck how?" He replied, "Just come here, straight ahead." I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. So I stood up, walked down the deck steps, and started slowly across the yard. "I'm coming," I called out. "Where are you?" the voice replied instantly. "Right in front of you. I see you." That sentence made me stop, because if he could see me, then he had been watching me the entire time. Still, I took another step forward. Then I asked something that changed everything. "Are you alone or with someone?" Silence. No response. I stood there halfway between the deck and the woods, and suddenly I got this awful feeling in my gut. Something about the situation didn't make sense, so I slowly started backing toward the house. I didn't want to turn my back to the woods. I kept staring into the trees while walking backwards, and the voice never spoke again. That silence confirmed everything. If someone was really in trouble and saw me leaving, they would have shouted something. "Wait, please come back." But there was nothing, which meant they probably realized I was catching on. So I went back onto the deck and inside the house, locking the doors. I sat in the living room trying to calm down. Then something happened that made things worse, much worse, because a few minutes later I heard the voice again. Only this time it wasn't coming from the woods, it was coming from the backyard, closer. And I heard water splashing, like someone stepping through the grass near the pond or the pool. My heart started pounding. I walked slowly to the window and peeked outside. At first I didn't see anyone. Then the voice spoke again. "I see you." And then he laughed, a quiet, wheezing laugh. That's when I noticed him, at least one man. He was crouched behind the pool on the far side of the yard with only the top of his head visible. The faint sound of gravel shifting and water dripping off the pool ladder told me he had just moved there. All I could see was dark hair in the dim light. I quickly shut the blinds. I figured if I ignored him, he might eventually leave. Maybe he just wanted to scare someone. But seconds later, something happened that pushed me over the edge. A loud bang slammed against the window, then another. The glass rattled. From the other side, the man screamed, "Help!" That's when I lost it. I yelled back as loud as I could. "Get the hell out of here! "The police are coming." I kept shouting it over and over. Honestly, I was trying to sound crazier than he was. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then I heard him laughing again outside the window. The laughter slowly faded as he walked away across the yard. Eventually, everything went silent again. I collapsed on the couch, shaking and completely out of breath. After a long time, it seemed like the guy had actually left. And somehow, I still managed to sleep that night. But there's something about that voice that still bothers me. Because when he first called from the woods, he didn't say I, he said we. Which means there may have been someone else hiding in those trees the whole time. And if I had walked just a few more steps toward the woods, I might not have been dealing with one person. I might have walked straight into several people waiting in the dark. And sometimes I still think about the most terrifying part of all. They didn't stop calling out for help until I stopped walking toward them. If you enjoy true night shift horror stories like this, subscribe to Record It After Dark.